All right, welcome back as we talk a little NFL draft with Brian Baldinger of the NFL Network, longtime NFL offensive lineman. You guys enjoy him on the NFL Network, and he's with us on the Krueg Show to break it down and talk about the draft. Baldy, good to see you.
Good seeing you, Larry. It's always good. This draft is, we always can couch it. Like, we'll know more 2 years later, but, everybody wants to kind of know, what did we get? What was consensus? I'll just tell you real quick, Larry. I was at the Senior Bowl the first 2 days this year, and John Lynch I saw him. He was every single defensive line drill. Him, Mike Tomlin, Vrabel. I mean, they were looking at this crop. And I got to admit, I hadn't been to the Senior Bowl in a few years, but I thought this was going to be a very deep and talented draft for defensive linemen. And I thought that's where the 49ers would go. And that's what they ended up doing.
They were, I think, debating between two guys who were kind of traits-based picks, Shamar Stewart, Texas A&M, Mykel Williams from Georgia. What do you think, Baldy? I mean, it's funny. There's a lot of talk about sack production versus production. Did you view Stewart and Mykel Williams as traits-based guys that weren't productive, or is collegiate production a totally different animal than pro production, and maybe we shouldn't hang on every, sack or every tackle total at the college level?
It's totally different. It's a different sport. I mean, it's about getting the ball out of your hands fast in college. There isn't, the play action game, the 5-step, 7-step drop. Rarely does a quarterback hold it. You don't get a lot of chances to sack a quarterback in college like you do in the NFL. And so it's a different animals. But I thought Mykel was a better prospect than Shamar. I mean, Shamar might, and they're pretty similar physically, but I think Mykel is more physical. I think he's better, more stout at the point of attack. I just remember seeing him, and I'm not knocking Shamar. I was watching Georgia when they were winning national championship, I guess now 3 years ago, whatever. And he was out there, Mykel was out there playing in that rotation with Jalen Carter and some of those guys, Nolan Smith. And so, last year, he, as everybody sort of knows, I'm sure by now, like he had the high ankle sprain week 1 against Clemson, and he played through it. I think he might have missed a game, but he played through it all year, and the production wasn't quite the same as we saw the year before.
You went up against all these guys, all these different players back in the day. One of the strengths of Mykel Williams is he's got the long arms, 35-inch arms.
Yeah.
What's the what's the advantage of having 35-inch arms? And I know Trent Baalke, and there are scouts out there around the league that they believe in this, and they don't believe in it a little bit. They believe in it wholeheartedly.
No, I've talked to some people, but it's like one of the biggest stats there is, just their length and how that translates. I'll be honest, Larry, like playing against Leon Lett when he was in Dallas, I don't know how long his arms were. I know I could never get to his body. I know that, like, no matter how, like, he just had 36 inches, whatever they were, he had the longest arms, and you couldn't get to his body. And you know how to use it. And he was a great player for a while in Dallas, won, some world championships with Leon Lett. I'm not comparing Mykel here because he's just getting started, but you see it when he's in a 3 technique and he's being double teamed and he uses his length to just anchor down. You can tell he's physically strong and he knows how to use his length.
Some people really are not loving that pick. Other people do love it. The guy that everybody's always looking for a comp. If there's a guy that I would comp Mykel Williams to, it's probably Michael Bennett, the former Seattle Seahawk, who was a little bit bigger, a little stronger, and he's a guy that you could put, in a 4-eye, or you could line him up over a guard. You can stun him. You could play those games, stunt in and out. The Niners love under Kaczmarek to play games up front, and so I think a guy like Mykel Williams fits that whole mindset of, hey, we'll line him up inside, we'll line him up outside, we'll stun him in, we'll stun him out, we'll play some games. In some ways, I see Mykel Williams kind of as the perfect fit for a team that likes to play games up front.
There's no question. In fact, I think if you watch his sack reel this year, Larry, I think every stunt of his was off a game.
Yeah.
Like he was looping. I mean, he was looping from over the center, out wide, and then closing. I think almost, and they run a lot of stunts at Georgia. They always have. And so I feel very confident he could line up in a 7 technique. wide nine like Bosa and come off the edge. But I believe that you could play him inside and run him on stunts with Bosa or run him with a tackle twist stunt in passing situations. I think there's a great deal of versatility that you can use with this guy because at the point of attack, if you're running it on 3rd and 3 and you kind of got your nickel defense out there and you want to get out, I mean, they run at you like the Eagles do on 3rd and 3. I feel like he can anchor down and hold the point pretty good.
What concerns do you have about Mykel? Some of the people that I talked to this week were concerned that there wasn't enough wiggle and enough juice to be a pass rusher of note, that he's strong and that he can bull rush, but that there's not a lot of moves there, and they're concerned about his ability to kind of be a pass rusher. How concerned are you? I mean, I didn't see a ton of moves, but that doesn't necessarily concern me a whole lot because we're talking about a 20-year-old player.
Well, I mean, Trayvon Walker was the number 1 pick in this draft lottery. He didn't have any of that. I mean, he was a power guy. He still is. He's a hard. I mean, I know Trayvon. He's a hard worker. He's getting double-digit sacks. I think he's a force. But I mean, that's Jacksonville. That's different. I don't want to compare, but I think he's a power rusher. Now, Nick Caseric's going to get with him, and you've got to have a counter, and there's some things that you can do with your hips and pad level and leverage and long arms. There's so many different things. Like I don't see him cross chopping. I don't see him dipping and ripping. Like some of the things that you associate with good pass rushers right now. But, and I don't really see a spin move. Bosa will spin from time to time. Like I don't see some of that, but I do see power. And so you can do a lot if you're collapsing the pocket on a regular basis in this business.
Alfred Collins was their 2nd-round pick, and Baldy, I mean, this guy is just a monster. I mean, 6'6", 330 pounds. Yeah. They thought when they lost T'Vondre Sweat that this was going to be kind of a down year for Texas inside, and Collins played incredibly hard against the run. What do you see with Collins? I mean, he's a bigger guy, 6'6", 330, but when you look at him, he doesn't look 330. He looks like a guy who could be 285, 290. But then you see that 6'6" frame and the way he's kind of distributed. Yeah, he carries 330 pounds plus.
That's a good sign. It's a good sign. I like my tackles lean like that. Where you're a little surprised by the weight when you look at the body type. That's a good sign. That's probably good lean muscle mass on him. Look, I mean, Byron Murphy and T'Vondre Sweat come out last year. I mean, he gets his chance to shine. Texas goes all the way in the now. They play 16 games last year. He got a chance to shine, but he's a space eater. Like he takes up a lot of. They needed a big guy. They really haven't had a guy. I know Eric Armstead had some good years and he had size, and they drafted some guys, but I feel like he's a big, wide body that can give you some rush. I think he's got to learn a little bit more about just getting on the edge and getting his takeoff, getting that first step down and getting into the defender. But from a size standpoint, he's going to take up space. I'm sure Fred Warner is going to be really happy, seeing him in front of him lined up right now. But I feel very certain at this early date in May that the 49ers are going to have both these two as starters on the defensive line. And then, like most of these guys, it takes them a year to pretty much figure things out. Sometimes you get a little advanced student. You guys saw that from the Rams last year with their first 2 picks. They really came on gangbusters, and they didn't look like rookies at the end of the year. You're hoping that, that what we saw last year from those first 2 guys with the Rams, you can see that this year from this group.
One guy that just didn't fit. He was good in Pittsburgh. He was good in Philly. He just wasn't great here. Was Jayvon Hargrave. They gave him a lot of money, Baldy, and it's funny. He's a really good interior rusher, but he wasn't necessarily strong against the run. And the 49ers really struggled the last couple of years defending the run. Was Hargrave just kind of a miscast for them, or what did you think of him in Philly?
So the guy that really got him to Philly was a guy. I mean, it doesn't matter what his name is, but I mean, he's in Pittsburgh now, but he really recruited him hard. He had his 4 year. He's from South Carolina State.
Right.
So he had a couple good years at Pittsburgh, came to Philly as a big free agent. They thought they got themselves a horse inside. He was injured. Then he had the big year, the year they went to the Super Bowl and lost. And he was the whole defensive line ate. They had 70 sacks. He was a big reason why. I mean, free agency hadn't even started yet. They already wrote the check. It was the first check out of the door. It was $85 million. It was a big check, but he had some injury histories. He's not the biggest guy. He's got kind of a sloppy body. He's not, he's the bad body club member. But you just didn't see what you saw from him at times in Pittsburgh, and certainly big year in Philly, was a real power booster inside where he relentlessly collapsed the pocket. And it really made it difficult for the quarterback. And Hassan Reddick ate, Josh Sweat ate, and all these guys. You just didn't see that in San Francisco. You didn't see this. Maybe he's wearing down. I don't know. But I really thought they got themselves a great player. And I thought everybody else was going to benefit as a result. And you just didn't get it.
No, didn't happen. And, they moved on and it just, some do, some don't. He was a really good pass rusher, but you know what? To me, if you don't have that ability to stop the run on the inside, man, I know it's a passing league, but man, you got to be able to stop the run. One guy that the Niners got that I think everybody's really excited about is the Indiana defensive tackle who transferred from Kent State, CJ West. Baldy, I mean, the hands is what stands out about CJ West. I mean, this guy throws guys. This is the guy you'd want covering your back end in a bar fight, because this guy from the elbow to the fingertip is got to be among the strongest defensive linemen I've seen in years. He really does throw people around up front. What did you think of CJ West? What did you think of defensive tackles that you played against that had these vice grip hands?
Well, there's some guys, it's a weird thing, Larry. It's because defensive tackles, I don't care what size you are. Some guys you can move them, and then some guys you hit them, and it's like running into a fire hydrant. It's just like you can't budge them. And I feel like CJ has that sort of anchor. Now, he ran really well at the Combine. If you remember, I know you do. That defense line, that was the first night at the Combine. There was a lot of guys that worked out really well in that group. So a guy that's 315, 320 pounds, you run a 4.95, you got lateral agility, right? But then you see that short area strength that he has, whether it's the nose, whether it's the one technique. He can anchor down. He's got really vice grips for hands. And you see that. You see him, especially in that conference where there's a lot. This was a deep defensive tackle draft. I think there was 27 or 30 of them that got drafted. But he really stood out from that standpoint. So I think, he's got limited pass rush ability. I'm not saying he can't get there, Larry, but that's the guy that you want there in early downs. When you're going up against the Rams right now or Arizona, teams that are going to really try to run the football at you, certainly Seattle as well. But you want a guy that can anchor down there and not get budged off the line of scrimmage.
How many times in your career, Baldy, did you go up against the Niners? Do you remember?
Yeah. Actually, quite a few, Larry. I played there. My rookie year was 82.
Right.
And we had a left guard. And so we played him. I think I got this right. We played him the last Monday night game of the year. We made the playoffs.
Dallas.
We were playing him. And I remember I go in as the new left guard at Candlestick. I got the clean uniform on. It's a muddy night. All that's, the way it used to be in December, January.
Yeah.
And here comes Fred Dean. Fred Dean comes over. He's going to, the history of the 49ers.
Yeah.
Here comes Fred Dean to test the new guy. And the guys in the huddle were like, hey, Baldy, get off the ball, man. Don't let Fred get started on you, man. It could be a long day, but that's the first defense lineman I ever saw with the 49ers. Well, we played them in different places. We opened up with them one year when I was in Indianapolis. And they had Charles Haley coming. I was right tackle. Charles Haley was coming off the edge that day. And so I probably saw the Niners 4 or 5 times.
It's so funny because Ronnie Lott said 81, they come in, they got Dean middle of the year. Ronnie said they came inside at halftime in the locker room, and there's Fred at his locker smoking a pack of Cools.
So I'll tell you a quick story, Larry, if you don't mind.
No, please do.
They used to have this NFL arm wrestling championship in Las Vegas every year. So they would send 2 representatives from each team. So I was with the Cowboys at the time, and they wanted Randy White to go. And Randy's like, I'm going fishing. You take it, Baldy. You go. So they had it at the Indian Palace Hotel. I forget the name of the name of the hotel. But anyways, I go out there, and there's Joe Klecko, and there's all these household names in the NFL. Derlin Moore from the New Orleans Saints. So my first opponent is Fred Dean. All right, so we come out, they announce us on the stage. There's a big audience out there, whatever, football fans from every team. And Fred Dean's smoking a cigarette as he walks out of it. Like, I thought, this is an act. What is this, He's smoking a cigarette. And as they announce his name, he drops it and he puts it out with his shoe. And he comes over and literally slams me in 5 seconds. I didn't even know what hit me.
That's
amazing. He had the arm wrestling championship. Like, he had that explosive first power. Like, it didn't matter his first step, his hands. He just had that explosive power. Puts a cigarette out and slams me in 5 seconds. And my elbow still isn't the same from that moment on.
That is amazing. I was going to ask you, because the guy that I was going to ask you about was Kevin Fagan.
Yeah,
if you remember going against Fagan, Fagan had these vice grip hands, kind of like a CJ West, where if he got his hands on you as a running back, or you're down. You're down. And hand strength is one of the most underrated aspects of being a great defensive lineman.
It is, Larry, and it's hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah.
And so who can get their hands on each other first? Who can control the man first? Who gets their hands inside? Because you're redirecting and everybody's trying to knock each other's hands off. But who gets your hands inside, get your thumbs up, lock the elbows, win the battle? So and whoever can do that generally is going to control the line of scrimmage, offense or defense. And so if your defensive guy can stack, shed, and shed that blocker in front of him, chances are that you're going to control the line of scrimmage and control the run game.
Couple guys I got to ask you about before we get out of here. Connor Colby. Niners took him in the 7th round. This is a Niner type offensive lineman. He's got shorter arms. He's got good movement ability. He's a 50-game starter at Iowa who played right guard. Baldy, I think there's a very good chance that this 7th round draft choice could start over Ben Barch and Spencer Burford at left guard for the 49ers. Just because I think he's well coached at Iowa. He's got lots of experience. He's still relatively young. He's only 22, despite 50 starts. And can you share with us anything about Colby? I know he was considered to be a real good run blocker, not as good of a pass protector, but a guy that's got movement ability and is considered to be. They called him a run blocking menace.
All right.
I'll say this. I like Iowa. I like Iowa
too. I mean, look at your tight end. I mean, there's just certain programs you kind of know what you're getting. You go to Iowa, you're probably not getting receivers. There's some days I used to do Big 12 games, so usually the early season game in the Big 10 back then was Iowa State, Iowa, and you go and watch, and the game is usually like 10-7. You can watch the game in black and white. It's just now things have changed a little bit at Iowa State, but it was an old school game, and that program at Iowa has turned out so many offensive linemen, tight ends, guys that know how to block. They just teach it old school. You're in a 4-point stance and you're firing out and you're snapping your hips. Like, they teach it in an old school fashion. This is Brandon Sheriff. You just go through the guys, Tristan Wirfs. I mean, the guys in this league that are really good players. I mean, I go back, back when I played, Mark Bortz played for the Chicago Bears, won a Super Bowl with the Bears in '85. Bortz is an Iowa guy. I don't even know if he was drafted, but he reminds me, Bortz is a big, tall guy like this, like there's a toughness to him. They know how to block. They know how to practice. There's just a professionalism about it. They never seem overwhelmed. They're just, they look like silos out there that just sort of, they don't even have to hear the play. They know they don't blow assignments. They just know how to play. And I'm with you on Connor Colby. His arms are probably too short for some of the people that pay attention to that, I'm not discounting it. But, he's almost 6'6". He's 310 pounds. He's probably going to get stronger. Generally, they all have core strength because they're in the weight room from the day they get to Iowa. Tyler Linderbaum, you just go through the guys that come out of that program. Like, I like that prospect too. And look, sometimes you can throw darts at these 4th round, 5th round, 6th round offensive linemen, and it doesn't really matter what round it is. Some of these guys they're destined to play. Dominic Pooney, what round was Pooney last year?
Third round.
Third round, but you saw Pooney right away compete, out of Kansas. Like, how many offensive linemen out of Kansas come out? Like, he was ready to play, though, and he upgraded that position right away.
No doubt. 2 last ones before we let you go, man. We really appreciate your time. The Niners went for, I thought this was a great draft for short linebackers. Eugene Asante, I loved Eugene Asante. Chandler Martin went to the Ravens. I love him from Memphis. And the Niners got this kid Nick Martin in pick 75. And a lot of people are like, oh, they overdrafted him and they reached and all this stuff. My whole thing is, look, and this is how I've always believed when I scouted with the Cardinals. If you're 95th percentile in strength, and this guy is 26 reps of 225. If you're 95th percentile in speed, this guy is 4.53 speed, great speed, and you're 95th percentile as far as production, you make a lot of tackles. He made 140, I think, last year or the year before. To me, Baldy, that's all. That's like the holy trinity of scouting factors. If you're fast and you're strong and you're productive, to me, I like those players, and I like Nick Martin because he's fast, strong, and productive. But how concerned are you with the height? He's a 5'11" linebacker, but he runs 4.53, and he had 26 reps at 225.
So I'm at the combine, Larry, and I'm in this gym, IUPUI gym. It's my spot whenever I'm in Indianapolis. So I'm in the weight room there. I get a workout in. Like, I know the people. I knew the people from back when I played there, Larry. So I go to the gym one morning before everything starts, and this big guy says, "Hey, Baldy, nice to see you." And I don't know the guy. He's an agent, and he's representing the running back, Ollie Gordon, who got drafted by the Dolphins. So I started talking to this guy, telling him I didn't know much about Ollie Gordon. I knew he had a great year in 23, kind of fell off this year. So anyways, I'm talking to him, and I go, "Well, who else do you have?" He goes, "I got a guy, a linebacker at Oklahoma State. You should take a look at him named Nick Martin." So I do. I go back and I look at him. I'm like, he's exactly what you just described. Like, he's a tackling machine. He's a hooper vacuum cleaner. And he is small. But Dre Greenlow was small. I mean, I don't know how tall Dre was. Aziz Al-Shire was small. But he looked like he was run blitzing every play. So they've had success with guys that aren't aren't Fred Warner, 6'2", 6'3", 240. They've had success with guys that weren't that. And to me, they've got a wide open spot next to Fred right now. And so I'm all for giving this kid a chance. I think this guy, would you like him to be, Carson Schlesinger at 6'2.5" and 240? Yeah, of course. But there's a place for undersized linebackers. I mean, whether it's just the speed of decision making, whether it's ability to elude blockers, to play behind your defensive lineman, like, there's a burst to this guy to get to the ball and good instincts. I feel like they found a player, to me.
Yeah, no, I think so too. Last one, man. I appreciate your time. The 49er quarterback room is interesting this year. You got Tanner Mordecai, who 4.4 speed and looked good last summer. You got Curtis Rourke, who's going to probably redshirt because of the torn ACL that he suffered. He played all last year with. Tough kid. A lot of people like that pick. They brought in Mac Jones, and you got Brock Purdy. And it sounds like, Baldy, we might be, literally hours away from Brock Purdy signing a brand new extension. My guess, he's going to get probably 50 to 55 million AAV. And I think he's deserving of it. Give me your thoughts on Purdy as where you think he is as a player, and how do you see him? Do you see him as a $50 million quarterback? Would you be afraid to pay him $50 million?
Well, you got to pay somebody, and you can go trade up like they did to get Trey Lance, and and it doesn't work out, and you can everybody makes mistakes at the very top of this draft with quarterbacks. I mean, one thing we've known, 3 straight years in a row, he's a good quarterback. Now, he wasn't as good last year as he was the year before, but every running back got hurt. So I don't care who you are. Everybody says, well, the quarterback's got to elevate everybody around him. To a degree, yes, it's true. You got to convert third downs. You got to extend plays. You got to make the plays that are there. You got to see the field. He does all those things. Well, you take Christian McCaffrey out of your lineup, or any of those backs that got hurt last year. They all got hurt. And so you're going to lose a lot. And then you lose Trent Williams for a number of games. You're going to lose a lot. The receivers, weren't ever what we thought they were going to be, from, Ayuk to, you name it. They didn't really do much for him around him. I think I talked to Jed York 2 years about him, maybe last year I talked to Jed about it. They were going to get the deal done. These aren't easy. They gave Trevor Lawrence all that money last year. It didn't work out, but it's not over. That's what the golden freight is right now. And so I'm happy they're able to get it done and keep the tight end and, do some other things. But It does change the way you sort of have to pay players and how you build your roster once you pay that quarterback that money. As we know, it does change things. Look, I remember that draft with Trey Lance and Mac Jones. I thought they were going to draft Mac. I thought Shanahan was all over him. And I feel like, if he could have gotten a chance to go get Kirk Cousins, he liked Kirk Cousins in Washington. I think he liked Mac Jones coming out of Alabama. Now he's going to get him. And so, I think you're going to get that room that is going to be competitive. It's going to be fun. Kyle is always going to coach hard, that group. And I think he can continue to coach hard like that.
I'll say this. I like the way the smart teams go about going after quarterbacks. I can give you Philly. They get Hurts in the second round. They stole Tanner McKee, Baldy. I mean, that's a great pick. And then I like that kid from Jersey that they took this year, McCord, who finished up at Syracuse. And how he's doing it. And the Niners are adding Jones and Mordecai and now Curtis Rourke in the 7th round. I think the smart teams stay, if they can. The Niners obviously took Lance 3rd overall, but if you can stay away from the high first-round quarterback and shop in other areas, seems like the way to go.
Well, I mean, look, they'll always have 3 or 4 quarterbacks on the roster. Kenny Pickett got moved on. He played a couple games last year when Jalen Hurts got banged up. He moved on to Cleveland, but I don't doubt for one second that Tanner McKee can play in this business. He's tall. He's got a good delivery. He processes well. But Kyle McCord, when you go back and watch his games at Ohio State and Notre Dame, like a number of big throws, big-time throws. He's a St. Joe's prep kid, right from South Jersey. He's local. He's excited as heck to be there. And one thing about the Eagles, they all work out game day. Everybody does. They get an extra day of practice. Every one of those backup quarterbacks goes through an hour-and-a-half throwing session. Every offensive line is down there with Stoutland just working on steps, and they got bags down there. They're comboing. Like, they know how to train these guys. They get a lot of work.
Baldy, you're the man. Thanks for coming on, man. Always good to wrap football with you. We'll do it again, and love watching you on the NFL Network, brother. Keep it rolling.
Okay, you got it, Larry.
Appreciate you.
Yep.
Have you ever typed your name on the internet and seen all of your private information is online? Are you tired of receiving tons of spam calls from random numbers? Are you receiving more and more of these as time has gone on? Well, that's where Aura, the sponsor of today's show, can really help you out. Data brokers sell your information to scammers and spammers and anyone else who may want to target you. Your full name, your email, your home address, all your records, your health records, who your relatives are. It's all out there. That's why I've been using Aura. Aura shows me which data brokers are selling my information and automatically submits opt-out requests for me. Cleaning up my information not only helps reduce the amount of spam I get, but it also protects me from hackers who could use the information to help them access my social media accounts, my bank accounts, or any other sensitive information. Aura also does so much more to protect me and my family from online threats I can't see. I get other features like antivirus, VPN, password management, parental controls, identity theft insurance, and more without having to download several different apps. It's really easy to set up. And best of all, I get everything at one affordable price. I value my privacy and I value yours. You can go to the link in the description to start your 2-week free trial.